Welcome back to Nat Snacker's Yard. Let's have a look at this Thundercat paint, shall we? And let's try and get it all back together. Right, so in the airing cupboard, trying to cure it nicely. That is the cowling for the seat, drying away quite nicely. In the bottom of the airing cupboard is the rear section from the bodywork. And hung up in the spare room is the two main panels. So that has had, obviously the cowling needed some fresh black put on it, so I banged that on. Fortunately I had half a can again of cam brush, but half a can of black, so just bang that on. And then that is cam brush clear, 2 cans on these two sections, the centre section and the cowling. And that was just, I think, enough without me going too spastic. Right, so I'm going to let those dry and cure and get them rubbed down. And there's a slightly better view of a cured rear cowling. And actually that light shows the issues, or shows the orange peeling quite clearly, the odd bit of floating crap that ended up in it as well. So as usual, I'm going to break out the sandpapers. I'm going to go 1200 wet, 2000 wet, 2500 wet. Then I think I'll drop you back in to see, so you can see what it looks like before I start hitting it with compound. Just as the dog walks in, that's what that noise was. Right, back in a sec. Okay, so on my Miggin kitchen floor, I'm down to the last one, the last panel to do. It's really difficult to pick this up on a camera, but you can see it's got a lovely shine, but you can see that, what's it called, orange peeling, that's the word. You can see it in the camera, dipping in between. Now I have done this one, and you can see that is considerably better. Now I did promise to kind of show the stages on the middle piece, on the cowling, but I forgot, so I'll do it here. So first things first, 1500 grit paper with a soft base, i.e. not a hard sanding block, and ideally not just your fingers because you get ridges from those. And it's time consuming, people, the difficult bits to get to, and I will show you where I have, it's really hard to show you. There is some, very vague dimpling around like the high spots and the edges, and that's purely and simply fear from me, because if you go at them too much you just burn through your paint. So yeah, so what I'll do is I'll show you what this looks like post 1500 grit, and I'll take you through the process really quickly. It's a slow, boring process and it'll be horrendous to watch, but I'll kind of dip you in and out. The key element is don't be afraid to go back, so you can go 1500, 2000, 2500, rubbing compound, examine it, find bits you've missed, and the world's going to fall apart. It's not, just go back and do it again. Go 1500, 2000, 2500. You can go higher than 2500 if, and get probably a better shine, but I reckon that it's enough with 2500 and compound. Right, I'm going to have at this, frankly, probably an hour's worth. Right, so I'm halfway through this first 1200 grit. Actually it's 2000 because I picked up the wrong one because I wasn't concentrating, but it's that perfect. It's a really good time to show you the issues that you get, or what you need to get through. So what you're after, let me see if I can find a decent, so you're after nice and flat like that with no, it looks like somebody's dropped glitter on it, that sort of thing. That's what you're after everywhere. What you'll find is lots of pieces like that, and you need to get through that. Now don't get me wrong, cutting compound will get you some way with it, but you will still get flecks underneath that, and particularly if they're in very obvious areas like that big bulk there. The difficulty and the challenge is getting in those little crevices there. Oh, that's a good shot. Camera decided to focus. Getting into those crevices without burring the edges or burning the edges, or so you can't just wrap a bit of sandpaper around there and give it a bit of a floss, because all you'll do is strip the black, in this case, off that edge. Right, that was a good pause just to show you. That's the bit that I wanted to show you on the cowling, but I got carried away and just carried on going. Right, I'm going to crack on and see if I can get rid of all of, brackets, most of that. Right, so nearly there. Still some flecking, but there are elements you don't see. It's getting nice and smooth. Now, obviously, there's still a process. I've still got 2,000, 2,500 to do on this yet, and compounding. So it will get rid of some little bits, but it's big bits that you're after, and big obvious bits. Now, it's just tricky because you don't want to take it too far up that edge, because you will just strip the paint off the edge. So a little bit more, being very careful. Right, so that's about as good as I think I can go. There is still some flecking on these points that are fragile. So I've been through the 2,000 and 2,500 as well. That is as good as I can go, and they're going to go compound it, and if there's any bits that that don't come out, I'll come back and rub them again. Right, and there we go, that's post compound. I've got no real, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, it's never going to be, and it's always the edges that are the most difficult to get flat. So I might have a little bit of a re-attack at that point there, because it's also very visible. But aside from that, I'm well happy. Obviously that's no polish or anything on it, that's just paint shine, well, lacquer shine. Right, I'm going to have a little bit of a dig at the top end again, really gently. And there we go, that's a couple of layers of polish. Now, I've said before, and this is entirely a personal opinion, that fresh paint's thirsty, and I do tend to find that. So although I've got a good shine there, it's going to need a lot more to keep it, because it's just going to suck it up. I have no basis in science behind that, but I have noticed that anything I paint seems to dull quite quickly initially, and then holds its shine better later. Right, enough bollocks. Brave the cold, and let's get these on. Right, it's a cold and foggy day today, which is why I've spent a lot of the morning in the kitchen. What I'm not going to do is do a 12-minute video putting panels on or off like the old boy does. How on earth that guy justifies some of his content, I've no idea. What I'm going to do is go for the magic act slightly, and we will go like this. My hands are wet. Try again. Like this. And there we go, looking good, and the dogs come out to admire as well. That looks better than I expected it to, frankly. Really generous people on the mudguard. That's also on there. Saying factory. It's not factory. It is not factory. It's nowhere near that good. If I got stuff like I produce from the factory, I'd take it back. But I like that. That, particularly with the cowling, that just makes it that little bit different. Yeah, rear grip's a bit crappy, but I'm not going to change anything on those. Cat. See, somebody's replaced them at some stage or another. I know you can get like shrink wrap covers for them, but frankly, yeah, doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. Right, happy with that. What's next on the cat? Next is to install the front and rear view cameras. As I said before, this isn't a seller bike, this is a user bike, and this is a commute bike, and they are becoming increasingly more essential, fortunately and unfortunately, I suppose. So yeah, that's going to be the next vid, I think, is how we install those. Not how to, because I've not done it before and I am far from an expert, but how we install those on this bad boy. But I am chuffed with that. I really am chuffed with that. I'll paint at some point I want to do the tank because there's the big chunk out there. I probably want to do the sections, certainly. I mean, there's damage on those sections. Certainly the lower sections, I'm probably just going to leave the top cowling because it's fine. Might want to consider, I think I'll leave the silver in because the frame's staying silver. Do want to do that. I'm utterly fighting conditions at the moment, so that's not going to happen for a few months. It doesn't need to be done, it's fine as is. And we'll see what happens. The only thing that slightly pushes me one way or another is painting tanks. Fundamentally, painting tanks is easier than painting plastics. I think the curves, the nooks and crannies on the plastics are a bastard that you don't burn through the paint, and I think in a couple of places I have slightly. Damn sight easier on tanks, so tanks are considerably easier to piss around with, but it's not a quick process, and it's, yeah, you know, it is impossible to do over one weekend, so that means my bike will be off the road for a period of time, but I might just train it into work over that period. But yeah, it's fine at the moment, not a drama. Yeah, I want to get the cameras on it, then I want to get insured on it and start using it, which means I can then in a position to sell kit my current commute bike. That said, the market is dead at the moment. I'm getting no interest on Kermit at all. Like I said before, I'm not in a rush. I'm content with the little tinkerings that I've got at the moment because the weather's so cold. It's not a great deal of fun tinkering with bikes in a cold garage, so I'm not fussed that it's slightly stalling. I apologise, it makes the channel a little bit less dynamic, but it's that time of year, fellas. That's the score. Right, that'll do me for another one. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll catch you next time.